Welcome to the Clock Tower. I'm Brandon here with Colton, and today we have a gameplay video for our Grisaia deck that we previewed earlier this week. And Colton, what are we playing against?
The new Log Horizon with the power up stuff. Talked about it in a video a while back now, which should tell you what I think of Grisaia's power level.
Yikes. So, if you missed the video earlier this week, the big thing with this deck is kind of centered around that level 1 combo and the level 3 combo. The level 1 combo, which I just put into waiting room itself, is the with climax placement of the salvage, be able to get to the event, which you see both in clock and hand. That event allows us to cigarettes or mill the top two cards of our deck and salvage equal to the level of those cards combined and put that into hand. And kind of just the combination of going back and forth with those cards is essentially the play to be able to keep going forward with this deck until we get to level 3. Level 3 endgame is the stock healer that is also a on attack with climax in play the pants, pay 1 to either burn 1 or stock swap. So a little bit more versatility at the end, but essentially one of the big parts with this deck as well is the anti-heal card that I want in memory, which needs to be reversed, which is still on my board.
Yep. And Log Horizon, very similarly, just has a level 1 combo. It's on pants. It's a top check. It's a character add. Sits with okay size. And then the level 3 is mostly defensive. It has a burn 1 combo, but the more important piece is the back row Shiro that denies that denies auto damage rather, and also applies Neg Soul. Yeah, both of these decks, frankly, are kind of the same era. Frankly, neither of them have very powerful finishing top ends. They both have like one specific thing that they're good at. Log Horizon, the back row Shiro with the anti-auto and the Neg Soul stuff, and Grisaia with its anti-heal. Which actually kind of matters in this matchup because the Akatsuki combo does heal, and that's one of the things I'm trying to do with Log Horizon is keep damage off and heal off any damage that I do take as much as I can. But
That makes sense. And that's kind of one of the things with Grisaia that it just can really kind of lead into is that if you can't heal, then you can't really play as defensively as you'd like to. So it kind of forces the game to change a little bit and allows Grisaia to kind of dictate the movement going forward.
I get 2 lanes of combo, which is fine. I have a good hand at this point in terms of just numbers. You have your anti-heal in memory. So I could technically heal. I'm like allowed to heal, but I have to pay an extra cost, which Log Horizon doesn't usually have the stock for. Triggering the pants here feels bad. But we will end this turn with a full hand.
Me being somewhat amazed that you managed to stick that much damage on me despite having 6 climaxes in my 12 card
Yeah,
deck at that
same,
point.
honestly. And that last swing was for 3, not 4, because the card I revealed was the card I added to hand, not my trigger.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm very happy to stick that damage just to keep the damage race going. And of course, you're going to Brainstorm hit 3, which kind of sucks. You're on a Search Brainstorm, but you do plus here. And we talked about this. We usually, for the gameplay videos, right, we talk a little more openly about our plays because this is meant to be more of a showcase than like a competitive exercise. But in talking during this, you had talked about how you were going to take all 3 off the Brainstorm despite, creating a situation where you have really, where you'd be triggering a lot of CXs potentially, so that you could try to cigarettes out of at least one of them and you actually get both here. So you're going to refresh really, really well while having the additional compression of having a big hand before discarding down because of when the refresh happens.
Yeah, and that was something that I really wanted to kind of lean into here, especially because with the combo, I'm going to get another 3 cards out of this next deck. I have one of the events currently in clock, so being able to pull 2 from waiting room and then the 1 from deck itself. So essentially pulling from essentially it was pulling a clean trigger out of my deck, which wasn't as ideal as I wanted, but being able to go back 7 out of 26 after where it could have been.
And
yeah, no, this actually
you
felt
get the
pretty
hand
good.
compression, and you also you have a more selective plus or fix rather in your hand at that point than you would have otherwise. So I think that it makes sense to grab the third one there because now you can, ditch whatever. You've got 3 selective fixes or almost selective fixes in your hand. And I got stupid lucky there because I had 1 climax and 6 cards, and then I canceled on 3, and then the next 3 were all clean, but they were in resolution because they were the bottom 3 cards. So I got to refresh with my clock compression. I think if I don't refresh with my clock compression there, this game kind of spirals out of control pretty quickly. Because this is a very 2017 kind of Weiss game, right? This is very much push damage, slam combo, and because my deck is supposed to heal and yours isn't, the fact that anti-heal is on the board or essentially in play means that you can get that advantage. And this is why Grisaia was relevant back in its heyday, right? Back when Grisaia was one of the better decks in the meta. This was why. It could heal, and its combo was about as loopable as anything could have been at the time. It wasn't hard to get your level 1s back with the event that you got off the combo. So if you could just get into the CX again, then you would be able to loop the combo.
Mm-hmm. And that's always the question of the day, is whether or not I actually can or can't do that.
It gets a lot harder now. In 2023, when you're looking at boards that are full of standby targets and 2/1s, it becomes much harder just because you can't win board.
No, absolutely. I do have to clock red here just so I have the right color in play. No, but I have access to all 3 colors, so I could play the tap rest counter in my hand. It's just a matter of whether or not the decision calls for it or not. Because essentially I had to kind of commit one way or another, right? I essentially need to make the decision of whether or not it's worth it to use up that much stock.
Yeah, I can see you kind of. Obviously, I can't see this during the actual game when we're playing it, but I can see you do I really lean into the Musashi effect, or do I just get the thing that's gonna definitely clear the 2 soul from the board?
Yeah, realistically, the thing that I really debated with that was I was already missing condition for it, so I have to wait until next deck to be able to actually meet condition. And I have one in hand already, and the stock cost is probably just a little too much for that to also try to combo at the top. And that's assuming that I can even combo because of your anti-burn.
But you can combo, you just can't do the burn part.
Yeah. So oh man, stock swap
so
3?
exciting.
That's fantastic.
You trigger twice like a good player.
Right. Somebody has to. But I also recognize I actually grabbed the pants off of that because you're I just triggered twice. I'm probably going to make it my way to 3 here. And so if I make my way to 3 here while you're still at 2, maybe I can just pop off a little bit, try to push extra damage here, maybe get that refresh point in there, and plus an extra burn 1, maybe.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at your refresh point, looking at your deck, being you're 5 out of 28. That's that's at least decent numbers to be able to try to sneak some extra damage in. Especially maybe if I double combo with a Musashi, that might be the play there. I'm like, but at the same time, like, just trying to take what you give me, essentially.
And for my part, I know I can't heal, so I'm trying not to clock, and I'm also trying to find my compression as much as I can. So I'm, brainstorming down to 1 stock, which feels really bad. You really want to have 8 stock going into your final turn with Log Horizon if you can help it. But the game's gone a little bit faster than I would like.
So because you sided there, I actually was able to essentially, it saved a point of damage that I thought was going to go through. So I'm like, oh, I'm still at 2. If I'm still at 2, now I can early play, get the Musashi on field, build up that stock again. Because I only really need 4 stock because it's a stock healer to get all on board, and then initial 1 to start off with a combo. So I'm like, if I do this, it gets me up to 5 stock, which is enough for double and then Musashi, because I can Musashi first and then combo twice.
And I'm side attacking there also. Like, I want to keep something on the board to stop the swing back, because I know my compression's not amazing. But I'm also okay with not pushing you to 3, so that you aren't swinging at me with the big damage numbers. Regardless, I still just don't cancel, and I get pushed to the middle of 3. I don't get to heal off the Akatsuki, but I do at least get to proc the Negsoul. Basically, I'm just trying to buy time. Because I've had to use more stock in the mid-game than I wanted to. Both for the sake of just playables and for digging out my triggers to keep enough compression to not die. So I at least have the Negsoul down now, which is good. And my next turn plan is, because I am forcing you to, if you slam a CX, you don't get to burn. So I'm looking at 3/3, and I'm 5 out of 13. So if I can cancel these, then I do get to live. Of course, I don't cancel, which is part and parcel. But the anti-heal mattered. If I could have healed down with the Akatsuki, then I would have been at 3/6, and I would have had at least another turn to try to do something.
Yeah. And that was the debate also, was whether or not to play the Musashi, but this Musashi wouldn't do anything because of the anti-burn. So it's like, yes, I could have had an additional side or essentially front for 1 in that lane. I'd lose the lane as well. Or I could play to the tap counter in hand, which is what I was like, no, if I can't burn, I might as well play more defensively and kind of switch to that defensive role.
Yeah, I think the tap counter there makes the most sense. It forces me, because the Log Horizon deck cannot push damage, right? Like, you have a burn 1 combo. So there's no damage push here. You are playing defensively. And Grisaia can, through its anti-heal, keep decks that play defensive from buying those extra turns. That's what happened here. But in any case, like, this was a close game, and if your deck is coming out in 2023 and it's having any kind of difficult time dealing with Log Horizon, then there might be a problem. As much as Log Horizon does have some, particularly oppressive tech with that Shiro, the burn 1 on the Grisaia top end anyway is just not good enough. The stock swap is good. And being able to stock swap multiple times and potentially, really mess up your opponent's compression is potentially powerful, but even then, you're just not punishing that with enough big damage swings. If your opponent cancels a single swing, they're probably going to live. And that's just not enough in this meta for a top end. The payoff for playing the anti-burn isn't quite there. The mid-game package is okay, but it's far too small to deal with a contemporary mid-game board. Grisaia is not what it was when it came out in JP, that's for sure. And I think a lot of people thought that it might have been, or at least it was going to be closer to that level, and it's, from where I sit, it's just not there.
When anti-heal is good, it gets better, but when anti-heal is not good, it gets worse.
And anti-heal is also getting worse and worse, because it doesn't stop stock healers, which are becoming, the preferred early play healer profile. And more top ends are either not healing, or the healing doesn't matter anyway, because healing down to 3-0 doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, with the increase of more explosive top ends and the decrease of standard healing, between both of those combinations, it makes this deck a lot more difficult to play into certain matchups. But in the right matchup, it can do fine. But this has been the deck. Next week, we have our Clock Talk coming up, where we look at Rumble, and we look at all of the data from Rumble and some of the interesting things that we found in that data.
Yeah, that's going to be a big video. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about our runs and the decks that we played. The following Thursday is going to be 5 cards, 5 minutes. And then the following Tuesday, we're actually going to have another Clock Talk. We're doing back-to-back Clock Talks. Because of the nature of our schedule, we have Rumble that we have to talk about. By the time that Rumble video comes out, New Jersey will have happened. I will be in New Jersey, along with Braden, the other guy that we played with in Chicago. We're going to be on the road that whole weekend. We're going to be staying in Pittsburgh with some of the Pittsburgh guys for a couple of days as well. So it wasn't practical to try to record and release a video about New Jersey in the days immediately following New Jersey. So that's going to be the following Tuesday. And then after that, we will get back to our regular schedule with a deck tech the following Tuesday. Until next time, thank you so much for joining us. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and have a good one.
We'll see you then.